Turning though to big breaking news out of Sudan this morning as well. The country now in a state of emergency, and military officials have confirmed just a few moments ago that in fact there has been a coup d'etat which has removed the longtime strongman leader Omar al-Bashir. Let's go to John Northcott, who's been tracking this so far. John, this was reported up until just moments ago, now confirmed.
Yeah, coming out on state television, which up until now has been playing a patriotic music. This after months of protest in the streets. The military key in this, and you can see this video here of people in the streets. V for victory. There you can see it being flashed by people celebrating the military. And we understand the defense minister speaking on national television, issuing a series of statements coming out and saying this. The president, Omar al-Bashir, has been arrested and will be kept in a safe place. A state of emergency for the next 3 months. The closure of airspaces and border crossings in effect as of now. Suspension of the Constitution as well. Elections to be held at the end of a 2-year transition period. This isn't the first time the military has stepped in and brought about changes in the way that Sudan, the population 43 million, has been run. But all of this around this man, the only head of state, only head of government to be indicted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, Omar al-Bashir. He's 75 years old. He's been in power since he ousted, and when he was a member of the military, the civilian government in the late 1980s. So 30 years in power almost, give or take a month or two. This has brought people into the streets, and this has resulted in the deaths of dozens, perhaps more, had the military not stood in there to act as a protectorate of many of those who were taking to the streets. This has become an enduring figure of the unrest in this country. This 22-year-old woman, an architecture and engineering student, raising her hand in defiance as the crowd shouts, "Freedom, freedom." This is a situation with a very young population in the country as well, where they have had to deal with poverty, flagging economy, and concerns over the fact that the president is viewed as a despot and a war criminal by much of the rest of the world. That president now, as we now know, according to the military, being kept in what is described as a safe place. Heather?
And now that he has been forced out after these many years, John, what does this mean for Sudan and its future direction?
Well, there's certainly going to be optimism from those who have taken to the streets, but there is also concern about the stability of the country. Let's look at what some of the problems are that has created some of this unrest. So a per capita income, about $4,300 a year, that makes it 174th of the nations of the world when it comes to the per capita income. So not a lot of money there. Unemployment 19%. Inflation rate 33% as well. This in a situation where it is in a part of the world where there is unrest and there is concern in many quarters about what the whole region we've seen of just the last few weeks. Unrest in Libya. Of course, the Arab Spring, the unrest, the subsequent rapid change back and forth of governments in Egypt. South Sudan, of course. Darfur, the battleground that has cost hundreds of thousands of lives after several incursions sponsored by al-Bashir. So concern about what could take place there. Central African Republic, Chad, concerns right around the region, Eritrea and Ethiopia. Also worth noting, though, that al-Bashir has allies in the region. The Russians keeping a close eye on this, the Chinese keeping a close eye on this, the Saudis keeping a close eye on this, and many of the neighboring countries where he has traveled freely and has not been turned over to authorities for prosecution by the International Criminal Court include some of those neighbors like Chad and like Saudi Arabia. So concern over the future of the country. People are in the streets. They've seen this before several times since independence in 1956. The government has shifted back and forth from popular uprisings to despots to the military playing a key role at every stage. So that's what we're going to be watching for next. Heather?
Thank you, John.
Okay.